Welcome back to our GST special, where we get you all the top policymakers from North Block. It's time to hear what the Economic Affairs Secretary Shaktikanta Das had to tell CNBC TV18 earlier today. I, along with my colleague Sonia Shenoy, was speaking with him, and I started off by asking him, how feasible is it for the government to meet the April 1, 2017 deadline to roll out this landmark legislation?
See, April 2017 is possible. It is possible, and already a lot of work is going on simultaneously. The GST draft legislation has been prepared and it has been circulated to all the states. And the draft legislation is an outcome of the joint effort between the Finance Ministry, the Revenue Department, and the state finance and taxation departments. So there is sort of convergence in thinking with regard to the draft legislation. It has been circulated. So it is possible simultaneously the preparation of the rules under the various tax laws, under the GST laws, that is also under preparation. So the process of ratification by 50% of the states, that is the next step which needs to be taken, and one would expect that to go through very smoothly, considering the fact that it has been a unanimous decision of the Rajya Sabha yesterday. So the process of ratification by states will go through very smoothly, and then a lot of work has already been done with regard to the draft legislation and also with regard to the draft rules.
Okay. Mr. Das, the next big question on everyone's mind is the revenue neutral rate or the standard rate. Everyone is hoping for 18%, but yesterday most states indicated that they want a rate between 20 to about 24%. So do you think that 18% rate would be wishful thinking now?
You see, with regard to the rate of taxation, that is a matter which the GST Council will decide. The GST Council, chaired by the Finance Minister and consisting of all the state finance ministers, that is a decision which will be taken. Now, we have two ranges. As you are mentioning, there is one report which says 18%. There are the states on the other side, some of which believe that about 24% would be reasonable. Now, let me mention that revenue neutral rate and the actual GST rate are two different things. Revenue neutral rate is basically given everything constant, given everything as per status quo, what is the rate at which there is no loss, no gain to the center or to the states. Now that takes into account the status quo as of today. Then you have to build in the fact of buoyancy of the economy, you have to build in the fact of buoyancy of tax collection, you have to build in the fact that the tax net will also widen, and almost all transactions across the, all transactions in the economy will come under the tax net. So the buoyancy factor and the tax the tax robustness factor, when that is considered, then the rates are likely to be slightly lower. So therefore, a considered decision will be taken. I am sure the GST Council, which also, which consists of all political parties and all state governments and the center, they will take a considered call and arrive at a rate that is practical and that is reasonable.
Okay. Well, actually, we spoke to a whole range of states, Mr. Das, and, they thought 18% came out of where? That is, according to them, just a theoretical construct. They completely, were against any rate under 20%. I could tell you that. Tax confusion or the understanding of how to pay tax. If, for instance, SBI with 10,000 branches in all the 30 states of India bought a Finacle product, which is again a service, then how does it get VATed? Do they have to have 30 GST registrations? It looks like an enormous nightmare. Is the government and the GST Council thinking through this, or has it already been thought through?
No, this has already been, this is already under consideration, because the banks had already brought this to the notice of the government that, big financial institutions which have a countrywide presence, whether they need to do multiple registrations or they do single registrations, there are challenges. For example, there is the issue of multiple registration which they are pointing out. But then at the same time, if you have a single registration, let us say, hey, SBI is headquartered in Mumbai. Now then, all the services which SBI is rendering across the country, whether SBI, the entire taxation will go to Maharashtra alone. Obviously, it will not, because the transactions are taking place across the country. So this is an issue which is already under consideration, and it will be suitably addressed when the GST rules are specified, and I think there will be more clarity in the days and weeks to come, and one has to be a little patient.
What is your sense, Mr. Das? These are the things to be sorted out. How to apportion, what should you consider a service being paid where, being consumed where. A credit card service, a credit card swiped in Jaipur, but the consumer is from Bombay. He is the guy who has to pay the money. So, exactly who gets that money? Do you think all those rules and large-heartedness on the part of the states to agree to these rules, and the backbone, the tax, the IT network, all this will be done by April 1st?
You see, the lot of discussion has already taken place on this. Lot of application of mind has already gone into this. Now, let me just, take the example of, we are now talking of, in an international plane, we are talking of base erosion and profit shifting, that is BEPS. The contention of countries like India is that multinational companies, wherever they are generating revenues, the tax has to be paid there. But then there is the counterclaim by the developed countries where the multinational companies are headquartered. And under the aegis of the, under the BEPS mechanism, there is a discussion going on about the sharing of the profit and to prevent profit shifting. So here also, within the Indian Federation, we are already having a lot of discussion as a part of the empowered committee of the state finance ministers. The finance ministers and the state finance secretaries, along with the union revenue secretary and the revenue department, they are discussing about all these aspects of dealing with credit card transactions, dealing with companies, big multinational companies which are rendering services, headquartered in particular location but having multiple state presence. All these matters are under consideration, and I am quite confident that they will be addressed suitably. I don't want to prejudge the issue and go on spelling out all the details, because many of it is still on, I can call it as a work under progress, and there will be more clarity, as I said earlier, in the weeks to come.
The impact on inflation. All countries, as my colleague was explaining, have gone through a bout of inflation as soon as GST is introduced, and services do form about 26% of our CPI index. Is it not likely that we are going to see a bump up even above 6%?
You see, the concern about inflation is coming from two sources. One is the services, the other one is the goods. Now, with regard to the services, already recognizing the fact that the GST will be in place sooner or later, right from, for the last 2 years, the service tax rates have been very gradually and very slowly, they have been increased. And the GST Council will obviously, they are very aware about the impact of the eventual rate, the GST rate, and what rate will be applicable to services. And I am quite sure, and the sense I have is that a very considered call will be taken and a reasonable rate will be adopted so far as the services are concerned. Now, so far as the goods are concerned, I mean, it's a well-known fact that the whole India now becomes one common market. The flow of input tax credit will now flow seamlessly across the country. You see, currently what is happening is that if a manufacturing unit is set up, is located in one state, and if it's purchasing raw materials from all other states, the input tax credit with regard to their VAT payment is not available. Today, after GST, India becomes one market, and there will be seamless flow of input tax credit. So typically, it will bring down the cost of production, and it should not lead to any inflation.
Mr. Das, we spoke about the impact on inflation, but just wanted your thoughts on growth as well. What kind of GDP growth can we realistically assume over the next, say, 1 to 1.5 years? And in the very near term, what kind of impact do you think the GST could have on GDP, considering that, higher taxes on services could impact the consumption of discretionary services in the very near term? So both near and for the longer term, what is your assumption?
You see, with regard to the growth, immediately, I mean, now that the tax rate, the GST Constitution Amendment is passed, there will be huge improvement in the sentiment. The sentiment factor will play a very important role, and it will definitely generate a lot of economic activity. You have, I think, earlier in today morning, there was discussion in some channels, perhaps in your channel, saying that asking questions about how prepared is corporate India. Now, let me take on that point. Now that the Constitution amendment is passed, the various, the corporate sector in India, the businesses, they will have to sort of suitably adjust their business models, their computer systems, the way the accounts are maintained, the way they have to re-engineer and reorient, readjust their business in the context of GST. So a lot of consumption of services will now take place in the coming months, because everybody will now start preparing for the GST, and that will definitely contribute to the GDP. This year, as Uday had mentioned, because of a good monsoon and because of the other measures, the transformative measures which the government has undertaken as a part of the budget, already we are looking at a growth close to 8%. And the impact of GST will definitely develop stronger roots in the medium term. Obviously, from day one cannot expect the results to show, but even in year one, there is likely to be some impact. And in the medium term, let's say in 2 to 3 years, the full impact of GST would be felt, and we should look at other things going favorable. We should look at 8% plus growth in the medium term.
The question on everyone's mind after yesterday's Rajya Sabha debate was, it is going to be a fiscal bill, isn't it? It won't be a money bill when the GST bill comes.
You see, as the finance minister has clarified, the government will follow the constitutional provisions. The Constitution, Article 110 defines what is a money bill. Article 117 also describes and defines what is financial bill. The government will go by the Constitution, and only when the bill is ready, only when we know the content of the bill, then only a decision can be taken, whether it's a money bill or it's a financial bill. And in any case, eventually the Lok Sabha Secretariat, the Speaker has the final say with regard to as per the constitutional provisions.
That was a lot of clarity we got from these two gentlemen, but that's not all. My colleague Sapna Das also caught up with the Finance Secretary, Ashok Lavasa.
That is a commitment which is proposed to be made, that the Government of India will compensate the states. So that is an expenditure which we are prepared for. And the extent of its impact on the fisc will be in relation to the revenues that we earn. So, per se, it cannot be said that this is a liability which the centre finances cannot afford. So, we will assess that impact after assessing the inflow of revenues in the budget.
Okay, with that, we're completely out of time on this special show. Thanks for watching.